And welcome to the sixth Staff Academy webinar, and this is the last one for this year. So my name is Tiina Luukkainen. I work as a lecturer at Xamk, and also I work for the INGENIUM Staff Academy. And the main objective of our academy is to bring teachers and lecturers and researchers together and share their best practices to learn from each other. Live Staff Academy is organized twice a year, and there we are able to highlight one best practice of each university, but we get so many brilliant suggestions that we wanted to showcase as many of them as we can. And therefore, we have had this Staff Academy webinar series this year. And today, we have one presentation from our Spanish partner university, University of Oviedo. So we have Assistant Professor Marlén Alonso-Castano here today, and she will talk about inclusive mathematics and how to design and create adapted manipulative materials to promote learning for students with special education needs. And the presentation will take about 15 minutes, and after that we will have time for questions and comments. And of course you can comment in the chat all the time, also during the presentation. But now I would like to give the floor to Marlén.
Thank you very much, Tiina. I'm going to share my presentation. Good afternoon. My name is Marlén Alonso-Castano. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Oviedo in the area of mathematics education, and I belong to the mathematics education research group at the same university. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for allowing us to participate today in presenting this innovation project, as this type of initiative, the INGENIUM Staff Academy webinars, is a platform for us to share the projects we are developing at the universities, and you can know what we're doing. So thank you very much. The work that I'm going to present today is the innovation project that we are developing in my research area at the University of Oviedo regarding the adaptation of mathematical manipulative materials for students with special education needs. The area in which I work at the University of Oviedo, as I mentioned previously, is the area of mathematics education. So we teach the bachelor's degrees in early childhood education and primary education, as well as the master's degree in teacher training in compulsory secondary education, baccalaureate and vocational training, and the master's degree in educational research and innovation. Our undergraduate lessons are lectures in which we teach mathematics, but also how to teach mathematics. And one of the problems we face, not only in mathematics classes at the university, but also in mathematics classes in primary and secondary schools, is a high level of abstraction and complexity of the subject. So nobody likes the mathematics class. So for this reason, the use of mathematical manipulatives is a fundamental resource for the teaching of certain content. Manipulatives are physical tools that improve mathematical understanding, and they allow students to visualize concepts and interact with them. So by using a variety of manipulatives, we address different learning styles and make mathematics more accessible for students. So, for example, we can use this material. These are questionnaire rods or questionnaire strips, and we can use them, for example, to work on the decomposition of numbers or to operate with numbers. We can also use geoplanes, for example, to work on isometries, or dice to calculate the probability of rolling a 5 on a die, for example. So these are some examples of manipulative materials we use in the classroom, but they are not the only ones. There's a huge variety of manipulative materials that we can use to work in mathematics in an intuitive and manipulative way that will encourage a deeper and simpler learning of the subject. In addition, this type of materials encourage students' motivation, so they have multiple benefits for teaching the subject of mathematics. However, these materials are not always going to be an advantage for students, as they are often designed without considering the specific needs of certain students. Thus, this project arose when in the context of our university lessons, we encounter some difficulties in adapting manipulative materials for a visually impaired student. Materials such as, for example, the questionnaire strips that I showed you in the previous slide were a problem for him because they use colors that can be associated with numerical value. Although the size is also related to numerical values, but they were a problem for him. And he also had problems with other materials, not just this one. So this led us to rethink the way we teach with these materials and how to adapt them to be inclusive. Furthermore, it is not only important for our students that our students are able to handle these materials, but it is also necessary for them to understand how they can adapt the materials. So the objectives we want to achieve with these projects are to identify manipulative materials that require adaptations for students with special education needs, to design and create adapted materials based on standardized materials, to design and create, to include these materials in the training of prospective teachers in bachelor's and master's degree programs, and finally to promote inclusive, accessible, and contextualized mathematics teaching. And also our ultimate goal is that prospective teachers not only learn how to use these materials, but also become aware of the importance of adapting them when necessary. And of course, that they have materials adapted to their own needs and as undergraduates and master's students. However, as I have mentioned, we had certain difficulties in making the adaptations, so we considered it necessary to seek support of specialists who could help us detect needs and adapt the materials. So we contacted professionals from, I don't know how many universities, 1, 2, 3, 4 universities, our own university. So we're participating in 5 universities in this work, and we have specialists of 22 fields working on this project. We have mathematics educators, so we're focused on adapting the didactic mathematical context. We have pedagogy specialists, psychology specialists, to support the understanding of the emotional and cognitive needs of the students, and professionals from occupational therapy to deal with the physical and functional adaptation of materials. And we also have computer science and artificial intelligence, so they work on the creation of inclusive digital tools. And finally, we have the collaboration of the Assistance Office to people with specific needs of the University of Oviedo, which is in charge of curricular adaptations and support for students with special needs at our university. So through this collaboration, we aim to ensure that materials review and design are pedagogically appropriate, accessible to all students, and of course comply with relevant legal specifications. And in addition, we take an innovative approach by integrating these adapted materials into university classrooms, not only so that students learn how to use them, but also that those students with special education needs can benefit from them. Thus, the project is divided into several phases. We have team and sub-team building, the creation and validation of service on manipulative materials and adaptations to be applied to students and teachers from the degree, and also entities such as the ONCE, which is the Spanish national organization in support of the blind people, or the Regional Ministry of Education of the Principality of Asturias, which is the region in which our university is located. We want to implement the service and also analyze the results to identify the materials requiring adaptation, design and create those materials, and then implement the materials in classroom, including them as a part of the training programs in mathematics subjects under didactics at the University of Oviedo. That was the main idea, but we are at an early stage of the project. So the process we have followed so far has been as follows. First of all, we have formed several teams. We have, on one hand, 3 working groups, 1 per educational level. So we have the preschool, primary school, and secondary school. And every group has a specialist in all the fields. So we have all the fields covered in each group, so that each member of the group can work in the fields and levels in their fields and levels of specialization. On the other hand, we have formed 2 other groups with the same people, but they are organized in a different way. Sorry. On the creation and validation of service, the ones that we are going to implement. After several meetings with the working team, we planned to review the manipulative materials available at the University of Oviedo, classifying them into useful, renewable, and obsolete. And this was an aspect that was not included in the initial planning, so we had to change our plans while doing it. But this allowed us to acquire the new materials, to have enough units for all the students we have studying at the university, and to use them as a basis for making adaptations when necessary. We selected some materials that needed to be adapted, but we're also waiting for implementing the service. We're currently elaborating so we can to a contrast, and we can select other materials that may need also adaptation. So the review of the materials has helped to restrict the selection of target entities, focusing mainly on those related to people with visual impairment and motor disabilities, which are the groups with more difficulties when working with manipulative materials in mathematics. However, we have encountered some difficulties in this process. We are in the second round of validation of the service, as the diversity of approaches has generated some discrepancies. But despite this, we believe that these differences enrich the process and will allow us to obtain more reliable service. And in this sense, the diversity of the multidisciplinary group, although it has many advantages, has also generated challenges in terms of consensus. And finally, the review and search of updated materials was also more complicated than we expected at the beginning. And we had difficulties in finding some of the necessary materials. All this has implied more meetings and a reorganization of the team's tasks. So we have to new tasks that we haven't expected. Despite these challenges, we have made significant progress, we think. And we have managed to identify some of the manipulative materials that need adaptation, such as those with colors, in which colors have meaning, for example, or small size materials or materials that are not very ergonomic. We have made a detailed inventory and classification of available materials and new acquisitions, which will serve as a reference for designing new materials. And in addition, we have classified those materials according to the contents they are going to be worked on with them, and also the educational levels. And finally, we have consolidated our multidisciplinary team that works in a coordinated manner on a topic that has not yet been widely explored. And we think it will serve to establish a good theoretical basis for designing and using these materials. Thus, our next steps are to apply the service to obtain feedback on the adaptation of the materials from teachers, students, and also entities, to design the adapted materials and to implement those materials in our university classrooms and then into the training programs. So finally, to conclude, we think inclusive education is not just a goal, but a collective responsibility. And with projects like this one, we seek to transform the learning of mathematics into an accessible and motivating experience for students. So we hope that next year, when we finish the project, we will get good results and we could implement those materials, and all our students can participate in the lessons adequately. So thank you very much for your attention, and I remain at your disposal to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. That was really interesting. Are you making the materials? You said that you collect existing materials. Are you planning to make also what's missing?
Yes, we're planning to make the ones that are missing. We have a 3D printer, so we want to design some of them to create those materials on our own. But maybe if we don't have all the opportunities of creating them, maybe we could contact some business that could help us designing them or something like that.
Okay. Very interesting. Now we have some time for questions, more questions and comments, please. Well, you can always ask for further information if you are interested. And I was just thinking, I teach languages and communication, and something like this would be so useful, or also in languages. So this is now the last webinar for this year, and we will let you know about our plans for next year as soon as possible. Thank you for your participation. And maybe I should say, for the first time this year, Merry Christmas. Okay, hope to see you next year again.
Thank you.